Hi, I am Deborah R. Richardson of Deborah R. Richardson LLC, and I work with you to help you clean up your vendor data, clean up your vendor processes so that you pay the right vendor. Now, this vendor master file tip of the week is IRS Draft W-9 Form. Yes, another one. And there is one big change. Now, the reason I kind of sighed, made a face, rolled my eyes is because we just went through the most current revision, which was published March 2024. So the current one that you should be using has a revision date of March 2024, which was right a little over a year ago. And so actually it's about 18 months ago. But anyway, that revised or that draft version, the first one came out July 26, 2023. Then there was another draft that came out October 2023. And then the last draft came out a day before it was published, and that was March 2024. So, anyway, everyone started getting ready, looking at the draft version, trying to keep up with them, trying to see what they are, right? And keep up with any changes. And that took quite a bit of time for it to go from draft to the published revision date, again, March 2024. So we just got our vendors, hopefully, sending us the most current version because initially everyone doesn't understand, including your internal team members, and they could be worse than the vendors, why they have to give you this new form. Even though their information hasn't changed, because their CPA or someone in their tax team just gave them one and they want to use that forever. But we should have gotten through all of that initial pushback, right, from the vendors, from the internal team members. And now here comes a draft version of a new one. Now, it doesn't mean that it's going to take as long, or it doesn't even mean that it's even going to come of anything. It may not ever be published, but let's look at one big change if it is for the vendor team. And that is those vendors that select individual or sole proprietor, and keep in mind that also includes single member LLCs because they are to select the tax classification of the owner. Instead of the IRS preferring a Social Security number, they will now require a Social Security number, which means that any vendor where you collect the W-9, if they give you a EIN number, an employer identification number, you're going to have to send that W-9 back and you're going to have to request the Social Security number. So not only are you going to have to send the W-9 back if it's not the most recent published version, right, the right revision version, and we don't know what that is yet, or if there's ever going to be one. But if it is, not only will we have to send it back if they give us the wrong revision number, but we will also have to send it back if they selected that first tax class and gave us an EIN or employer identification number instead of a social security number. Now, there was one other change on that form, and they added a certification for digital asset brokers. But this one is probably the one that is the biggest change for the vendor team. Now, I will say, and I've said it before, I think a substitute W-9 works best because you can combine it with the requirements of the IRS W-9 along with a vendor setup form if you have one. And if you don't, you might want to look at creating a substitute W-9 form as a combination of those two forms so you can ask more data for more data or collect more data than is collected on the W-9. And if you currently have a vendor setup form, wouldn't it be great to only have one form to give to the vendors? And a quick tip is not to call it a vendor setup form or not to call it a substitute W-9 because then they're going to want to give you whatever W-9 they already have. It could be an older version. Just call it a vendor setup form. You'll know it's a substitute W-9 form. And then that way, if the vendor tries to give you an older W-9, you don't care because it's already built into your vendor setup form. So, with that, here is a podcast that's going to come up right after this Vendor Master File Tip of the Week. And it's talking about the substitute W-9, the benefits of it, and what vendor data I recommend that you collect on that substitute W-9. Again, call it a vendor setup form. All right, so that's it for today. If you would like more information on how to improve your vendor process, please go to my website at deborarrichardson.com for free tools and resources to avoid fraud, fines, and bad vendor data. Now, if you would like over, oh my God, what is it, 179 hours now? I just keep adding a vendor process training. Then check out the Vendor Process Training Center at training.deborarrichardson.com. So good luck and be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to be notified next Tuesday for the next Vendor Master File Tip of the Week.